It has now been almost 5 days since I got my Nintendo Switch 2, and I've been playing this thing pretty much nonstop to test out exclusives, the screen resolution, the controllers, the battery life, just every single aspect of it. And I gotta admit that the more I play my Nintendo Switch 2, the more I kind of just hate this thing. It kind of feels like a ripoff, and it still feels weird to even think that because the original Nintendo Switch, this is a system that I think might be one of my favorite consoles of all time. And I feel like I've ended up buying 10 Nintendo Switches over the course of 8 years. And a lot of that just comes down to the fact that it is such a uniquely well-designed, well-played, well-loved device. Whereas the Switch 2, it feels like a cash grab. But what I wanted to do today in this video is itemize my frustrations. I want to go from my tiniest gripes to what I consider to be game-breaking problems about why I'm mad about the Nintendo Switch 2 and kind of just the features and aspects of it that I hate the most. Let's get into it. Hi, I am DreamcastGuy. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. But now, let's get into it, starting at number 10. Number 10, the dock. Now, this might sound like a very tiny issue, something that's not that substantial, but I've seen actually a bunch of people complaining about this very strange dock, which, again, is expensive. But I feel like the big issue with the Nintendo Switch 2 is that they definitely wanted it to be bigger and better, which means it's a lot heavier, right? Just in general, you can feel the fact that this is a beefier, heavier, more crazy, dense device. But when you put it into the dock, you can feel the fact that this thing is very, very tip-worthy. This thing being such a thin piece of plastic and this being such a heavy chunk of batteries and screens and stuff like that, this thing tips over constantly. My cat has knocked this thing over 5 times in 5 days. And to put that into perspective, I've had this thing for 8 years. My cat has never knocked it over once. It just seems like this thing, it seems like what their idea was is that these things should be the exact same size. We should have these be the exact same dimensions. So you could easily just take this out of your entertainment center, put this into your entertainment center, right? But the problem is that having these as the exact same dimension for a system that's like 50% heavier, it just doesn't feel right. I have also seen a lot of people saying that, honestly, this being able to fully pop off, the back just basically being fully removable. Some people have not liked that. To me, I don't mind that. I have seen people saying, though, that they want to buy some sort of extra legs for this, something to actually make this, honestly, more sturdy. Because right now, if this thing tips over, your Switch is going to get scratched. Your $500 system is about to have some speed stripes. Number 9, the controller sucks. Now, obviously, everybody's going to like different stuff. Not everybody's going to love the same style of controller and stuff, but man, this thing just feels so bad in the hand. It's actually kind of baffling. So this weekend, I had some friends come over. My girlfriend spent some time over here, and she wanted to try the Nintendo Switch 2. And while she was playing it, she had the same complaint I had, which is these funky fins. Just in general, because the Nintendo Switch 2 is bigger than the Nintendo Switch 1, obviously the controller's got to be a lot bigger as well. But I still feel like it just feels funky in the hand. When you first hold Nintendo Switch controllers, they feel like they fit at your fingertips very comfortably. Whereas this big, beefy boy, it doesn't have that natural sitting in the palm way that these managed to have. I honestly strongly dislike this controller. And this is the default. Some people are like, oh, just buy the $100 Switch Pro controller. The default controller should be enough. Honestly, I also really don't like the freaking chat button. I bump this thing constantly. I cannot get over the fact that having a giant button that if you bump brings up a menu that says, do you want to call your friends? Drives me ballistic. I have been using a third-party controller for as much as possible. I've been using this third-party controller, and to me that sucks. The fact that I had to actually have a separate company and a separate device to even make my system comfortable to play, dude, that is a bad sign. Number 8, the battery. Easily the coolest aspect of the Nintendo Switch 1 and the Nintendo Switch 2 is the fact that it's not just a home console. You don't just play it on your TV. It is the ability to pick it up and play it on the go. And I still gotta say that it's still so cool to me that I can do that. I still feel like the Nintendo Switch 2, despite all my gripes, I still think the screen quality, the graphics, It is wild this technology even exists. But with anything like this, there are going to be drawbacks. The big thing is the fact that with the Nintendo Switch 1, because this thing was, by all standards, quite underpowered, the battery life could be pretty decent, especially if you were just playing third-party stuff. If you were playing an old game like Slay the Spire, or if you're playing, a port of Resident Evil 4 or whatever like that, it could play and play and play for several hours. Whereas it does feel like everything on this thing, everything has such a short battery life. But especially if you're trying to actually play Switch 2 games on the Switch 2. I'm very into doing cardio. I do like 30 minutes, 40 minutes of cardio every single day, which some people seem to not believe me. If you follow my Instagram, I show off doing my cardio every single day. And the way I do it and not get bored is I always go, I bring my Nintendo Switch, I just set it on the exercise bike, and I pedal at like max resistance for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, somewhere in there, right? And it feels good because while you're playing a game, that time just disappears. I got to admit that it is wild to me that when I'm trying to play something like, I don't know, just something normal, Mario Kart World, that battery low indicator pops up so freaking fast. Even while filming this video, I went from 90% battery to 69% battery pretty much in the time it took to set the camera up. This battery is so bad. Now, I do understand why. Batteries are heavy. The technology that actually makes this thing go, obviously, batteries have to have a physical mass. The bigger the battery, the heavier the system's going to be. So I understand they probably did that trade-off and went, okay, bigger screen, bigger Joy-Cons, bigger graphics, bigger power suck. We got to put the biggest battery possible, but it can't be so heavy that kids can't lift it. I still feel like something about this feels like they need to find some way to make it run more efficient, because right now, this battery life, in my opinion, this ain't going to cut it. Number 7, it's kind of heavy. All right. So this is just a complaint I've heard a lot, and I have to say that at first I didn't fully jive with it. I saw a bunch of people saying that it feels weird to play this for hours at a time, that it gets heavy in your hands. And now that I've been playing it more, I got to admit that I definitely notice it. Like, just to have comparison, this system, the Nintendo Switch 1, you can easily play it for hours and hours and hours. You can easily hold it on your pinky all day long, right? This thing weighs nothing. It weighs literally a couple grams. Whereas they've admitted this thing weighs about 40% more. And when you hold it, it's very obvious that this is a much heavier device. Now, the problem is that I'm like, oh, it's so heavy, it's falling on my hands. It's the fact that it gets uncomfortable. I've been playing a lot of RPGs. RPGs are my favorite thing to play. And when I'm just busting this bad boy out, for the first couple hours, you're fine. For the first 30 minutes, hour, you're fine. But it definitely gets to that point where just trying to hold a couple pounds of weight over and over and over, after a while, you start to want to rest your hands on something. You start resting your wrist on it. It gets to a point where I've been playing this in bed a couple times and stuff, where I did find myself wanting to just put the kickstand up and prop it up. And that, to me, kind of defeats the purpose of a handheld. This thing is heavy, and it almost makes me wish that we had like a Switch Lite version of this, just a way to play this in a smaller, sleeker form, because this feels a little bit too chunky to be a normal handheld. Number 6, the blurry screen. Now, this is a problem that I didn't really fully expect, but it does kind of make sense. So, anybody who played the DS or the 3DS back in the day, remember that these devices didn't have the craziest graphics, tiny screens. So when we first got the 3DS XL, a lot of the games actually looked very, very bad because they were made to run at 144 resolution. So bumping that up even to 280 resolution, suddenly you had a crazy bad blurry effect. It's called the pixel density tech. I feel like a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 games, the problem I've been having is when I boot up Nintendo Switch 1 games, they honestly look really, really blurry. And to me, this is a thing that feels like it's very easily remedied. Now, the reason you're seeing that is because since the screen is bigger, what's happening is these games were made to run not even at 720p. A lot of Switch 1 games run at about 600p, right? So it makes it where when you start booting this up, you end up with this weird problem where you're having a stretched out image that's not even 600p now on a 1080p screen. And it creates definitely this strange blurry effect that in a lot of ways, it's not that it's the most game breaking, but it's definitely distracting. When I'm trying to play this handheld, I do find myself being like, why does it look like that? Oh, I wish they would put in some sort of upscaler the way that other systems have done, something that makes it look a little bit cleaner, because in this current format, a lot of these Switch 1 games actually look really, really busted, specifically on a Switch 2 screen. Number 5, digital games. Perhaps the weirdest aspect of the Nintendo Switch 2 that to me just makes absolutely no sense other than greed is the fact that it seems like about 70% of all the games on the Nintendo Switch 2 are digital only. Even if you do buy it, even if you buy a physical box of it, it's actually just a game key. It's fake. It's not actually a real thing. It's straight up just you put it in and it downloads it off the internet. If you pop these cartridges in and you're on a plane or you don't have Wi-Fi nearby, literally nothing would happen. Now, there have been reports that basically it costs about $13 to make a real Nintendo Switch game, and it costs about $5 to make a cart key. And to me, I feel like this is such an annoying issue that I'm already thinking about when I look at my actual Nintendo Switch collection. When I think about the fact that I have so many games that physically exist, I can pop this in and play this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours with no updates, no installs, no anything. All these games, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. Pop it in, play it instantly. And I have to admit that I am one of those people where I am annoyed about the fact that Nintendo Switch 1 was the last bastion of physical is king, of, hey, buy our games because they exist not in the cloud, but literally in your hands. It's weird that Nintendo was the first person to say, nobody really cares about that. It is baffling that they would do this. I mean, truly, it feels disrespectful from the fans, and they're clearly just doing it because they would rather just get, a 7% boost in profit, even if it screws over their fans and screws over the future-proofing of their own games. Digital game key cards, why even buy them? Seriously, they're such a stupid scam. Number 4, the ridiculous price. Can I be really real with you? I feel like I get so annoyed because I love the social aspect of video games. I've always loved that. It's been my favorite part, is not just playing a game, but sharing a game with your friends, booting it up, showing somebody and saying, hey, isn't this badass? You should go buy it. Oh, check out this game. Check out this demo. Check out this trailer. Go pre-order it today. I like the social aspect of not just playing games, but then having my friends say, dude, that was such a good suggestion. Or my friends coming to me and saying, hey, check out this crazy cool $40 game, right? The social aspect of video games has just gotten better and better in the age of social media. The fact that you could just share Switch clips directly from your Switch 1 and stuff like that. But when it comes to the Switch 2, this thing is so prohibitively expensive. $450 just for the device. Nothing else, just the device. $450. Hell no. But on top of that, the fact that games are $80 a pop, it makes it where you can't just experiment. You can't just try it out. And a lot of these Switch 2 games don't have demos. Hopefully they start getting demos in the future. But during this weekend, I was hanging out with friends. I went to the mall and a subscriber walked up to me. And I jokingly, because I've been making videos hating on the Switch, I said, you get that Switch 2? And he was like, buddy, I work at the mall. I can't afford the Switch 2. And I kept thinking about that because it's not just the price of the system. It's not just the price of the accessories. I think it's scummy the fact that, honestly, no Nintendo Switch 1 games even got a discount. Can I be dead serious here? 100%. I think they should have released the Switch 2 and said, if you go on the eShop and look at games that have a Switch 2 upgrade, they're $10 cheaper or something. The fact that Bowser's Fury is still $60. Everything here is still full price. Metroid is still full priced. Zelda is still full priced. And if you buy this on the Switch 2, it doesn't have the DLC. They should have done some sort of discount that said, welcome to the Switch 2 family. We want you to celebrate having the next generation of tech. But they just don't care. Nintendo would rather screw over every single fan for that 10% boost in profit. And to me, this just seems so crappy for absolutely no reason. Number 3, the game crashing. I've been experiencing this constantly, and I feel like nobody else is talking about it. I mean, I've seen some tweets talking about it, but some Nintendo Switch 2 games got patches, some automatic patches that made them run better. Switch 1 games running on the Switch 2, they have better frame rate, better resolution, better stuff to just make it where, in general, they get that tiniest boost because this does have a faster drive. It's got better load times. It's got obviously much higher resolution and stuff like that. There are some games, though, that still crash constantly. Red Faction Guerrilla, I ended up buying this. This was on sale for $3. And I was like, okay, I want to check that out. When I booted up, this game crashes constantly on the Nintendo Switch 2. How is it that you have a game that is honestly, this game came out 12 years ago. This is a bare bones port. How is it running so bad on such an expensive console? I've seen people saying their entire Nintendo Switch keeps hard crashing. And to me, that's unforgivable. It shows such an instability to the tech that honestly should not exist for such a high price tag. I still feel like the fact that they did not allow reviews and stuff for this, they did not allow reviewers early access, I still feel like it's a sign that they were afraid of the fact that people were actually going to try to play games on their gaming device. Number 2, bad launch library. Whenever you get a new console, I mean, it's so fun to boot up your old games, right? You know, you want to boot up stuff on your PlayStation 5 and see, okay, now they don't have load times. That's so neat. Or I want to boot stuff on my Xbox Series X, some Xbox 360 games that now run at 4K. Or whenever you get a new graphics card, okay, I want to play Half-Life or Portal, whatever boosted up, right? But let's face it, the reason you buy the next generation of consoles is not just the launch games, it's the promise of the future library. Hey, here's those cool games that are coming out in the future. But I feel like I'm annoyed about the fact that with the Nintendo Switch 2, just Mario Kart, this is a stupid launch game. 100%, there's that game that's about to come out, Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm not particularly interested in it, but I will admit that I would have bought that if that was a launch game because it would have given me more choices. Just Mario Kart. You can see here I bought Mario Kart, I bought Bravely Default, which I feel like even that was overpriced, a 3DS game that has 0 changes. I bought all the launch games. And when I play them, I have to admit that I feel like there's just not enough. There have been so many times now where I'm playing my Nintendo Switch 2 and I'm like, man, these games suck. I wish I had a big open world adventure. I wish that they had released, I don't know, if you're going to just re-release Zelda for the 15th time, you're just re-releasing Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you should have put in extra DLC for free and been like, oh, here's something that could only run the Nintendo Switch 2. Remember when Horizon did that? There was the Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores DLC, and it only ran on the PlayStation 5, and that DLC kicked ass. I feel like they should have done something like that for the Nintendo Switch 2, but it just feels like they didn't even care enough. They were like, these hogs will slop it up. This is the worst launch games I have ever seen since the Virtual, because that launch game was Mario Tennis and nothing else. This honestly shows that, honestly, Nintendo just does not care. They know people are going to buy it, and they don't respect you. Number 1, it's a boring upgrade. The coolest aspect of a new console generation is always that tech, that boost, the fact that you are playing something that doesn't exist on the predecessor. Like with the PlayStation 5, obviously it had much better resolution and graphics and no load times, but even stuff like, hey, here's your DualSense controller. Oh, it's got haptic triggers. Oh, it's got this special speaker with 3D sound. It's got stuff that makes you go, oh yeah, this is the next generation of technology. The most disappointing aspect of the Switch 2 to me is that it's not the Switch 2. It's the Switch Pro. It is just straight up the exact same device with the exact same menus, the exact same games, the exact same BS, but it just doesn't have that hook, that spark, that thing that actually says, here is something cool and completely new. And to me, that is a massive L. I guess I keep thinking about the fact that when the Nintendo Wii came out, that was right as I finished high school, is when the Nintendo Wii came out. And I remember talking to my older brother about it. And he was like, okay, Twilight Princess is on the GameCube and Twilight Princess is on the Wii. Why do you want a Wii if you could play it right now on a GameCube? And I talked to him about the motion controls, where I was like, bro, you can get the Wiimote and actually fight bokoblins and kill Ganon and use your shield to block. And he instantly got it because it was a next generation thing that wasn't just a gimmick, it was something interesting and innovative. This thing has nothing interesting or innovative. It is just the Switch Pro. And to me, that does just bore me. I mean, the most interesting aspect of this is that the screen's a little bit better. I feel like the docked resolution is better, but is this really it? I'm thinking, because honestly, we're sort of in the dark age of Nintendo, I am sort of thinking that there might be a Switch 2 Pro at some point. I just feel like they're going to try to milk this thing all to hell. And I feel like I've never had a Nintendo console launch where I got it and immediately said, okay, time to put this on the shelf, but with nothing special or different or cool or innovative. Where's the hype? I don't know. These are just some thoughts about the Nintendo Switch 2 after 5 days. How do you feel about it? Are you still excited? Are you still loving yours? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. And put your Switch on the charger, because apparently this thing is just ready to explode.